Yeah, I like the hang, and then I'm like, oh, I wish I could have been doing this. Like, I wish I could have been doing this in a manageable way like 10 years ago. Yeah. I just like last night, I haven't been Irish goodbying. Mm-hmm. What happens is my brain goes, we're going to sleep soon. Yeah. And I'm letting you know that wherever you're at is where you're going to, it's up to you if you want to go to the hotel.
You're racing consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when we were out in San Diego, it was like 1 a.m, but like for my body, it's 3. Mm-hmm. And I'm like literally like falling asleep in the back of my friend's car, and they're like going to the next place, and I'm like, I just have to go to the hotel. This is stupid. This is dumb. Like, but it's like it's the hang is like half the fucking. That's like half the fucking fun or whatever. Like, you know, the networking thing. I'm just like, God damn, I can't do this shit, dude.
I just like being at home on the internet so much.
Being on the computer is awesome.
Yeah, I love the computer. I like that all my friends are on there and all the ideas that I think are on there.
Yeah.
When I'm hanging out with my friends, there are all these like different ideas. And I go, ugh. But I go home to the computer. Uh-huh. That's where all my ideas, I can find those easy.
One of my favorite like jokes is an old guy I used to follow on Twitter. He was just like, I don't understand why conservatives talk about echo chambers all the time. Are you saying that me and my friends hanging out and having all the same correct ideas is bad? like that. Like when people are like, yeah, you're just in like a left wing echo chamber, and I'm like, what do you like? I do read stuff from the other side. I read it to and I do watch. I think an abnormal amount of like really far right wing media because
me too.
One of my things I've noticed, and it's not like just me noticing it, but like Tim Pool will talk about something, and then 3 weeks later, Trump is like passing a law on it.
For real.
And there's it used to be like Fox News to the White House, but now it's like the podcast to the White House. Basically, like if you are like doing this, but on the right side of it, and you have enough money behind you, the way you get policy into the White House is not by lobbying anymore. No. You wear a fucking stupid beanie or whatever, or a hat, and you're like, I heard that like throw a dart at the board. Ethiopians are raping Swedish tourists in the south side of Chicago, and then like 3 weeks later, Trump's like, "We've got to do something about the Ethiopians. We have to do something." And you're like, "Oh!" And so like sometimes like my wife or like my friends will be like we'll be talking. And they're like, "Why do you watch so much of this stuff?" And it's like because I like to predict like what the new moral panic's gonna be.
I'm Nostradamus.
Yeah,
I'm literally staring into my orb right now, predicting the future.
Yeah, I'm like, I give it a month, they're gonna be mad about the Ethiopians raping the Swedish. That's it. That's just give it a month. JD Vance is gonna say it, or Peter Thiel's gonna talk about it, and then it's gonna be a thing.
I eat the esoteric, and then I shit prophecy.
Exactly.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. I'm pondering the orb. Yeah, I'm like...
I'm sorry that I've starred so far into the pit that instead of it looking back at me, I can shout my own commands into it.
Also, yeah, and it calls me the N-word. Like, I'm like... Because I don't know, people are like, oh, I know how they view the world. Like, I don't need to. And I'm like, no, I understand. Like, it's a very, it's a stupid view of the world. Like, they literally have to make people scared and stupid so they can, like, push their ideas. Like, they have to make people dumber and more scared to push their ideas. They steal their ideas from other people. They tell... I don't know if you've seen, but like all of them are obsessed with Gramsci right now.
Makes me so mad. You're the one that told me that Bannon called himself a Leninist.
Yeah,
and I googled that. It made me so fucking angry.
Christopher Rufo, who's like the brainchild of like the new right's like culture war, whatever. They herald him like a genius. Mm-hmm. He literally is just like, oh, you need to, if you want to understand how to win a revolution, you don't need to read Lenin, you need to read Gramsci. These guys don't have their own ideas. So like his whole thing is like you don't win like a political revolution through like the dismantling of the state. You win it through changing the culture. And then he like writes in his Substack about that stuff. And if you're like a midwit, like, tech bro, you're like... I'm like, dude, an Italian prisoner was right. They said the same exact thing 100 years ago while his country was actually in the midst of like, whatever the fuck. And so like, I watch all this stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, like you have to do the Ethiopian Swedish rape thing to get into these ideas across because the ones that are your own are so stupid. They're so dumb that like, that you have to have people terrified and retarded to sell them on any of them. Cause you're like, oh, they just canceled the like, protected status of like 500,000 Haitians like yesterday. Now they're all illegal and they're all going to get deported. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how did you get that? Oh, well, you just like 2 weeks ago you were like, oh, they're like they're eating dogs and they're eating cats and raping white women. So we got to, whatever. And
I would eat dog too. I don't understand this whole not eating dog thing.
I was just talking about this.
I was talking about it this morning.
Yeah.
I was asking my wife, would you go to China with me and eat that dog at that dog eating festival? And she's like, I don't think I'd want to do that.
Yeah.
She's like, that's something you should do with your friends.
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought it was like a romantic thing. I don't want to take you to the East and give you rare meats from the Orient.
With delicious dog. Yeah, I was just talking to Thomas about like, I eat meat, so I don't think I have any leg to stand on.
No.
Like, here's my thing. I've always felt this way. Vegans are right. I'm just like not a good person.
Couldn't agree more. I was vegan. I used to call people bloodmouth.
Yeah.
Non-ironically. I'd say, "Oh, how are you enjoing your murder, buddy?" Meanwhile, I was doing cocaine.
Yeah.
As if I had any
doing
moral
probably
high
the most like blood on your hands drug. I had a whole bit back when we were doing spots together a lot, like about the like Austin vegan cokehead community about I'm not going to be told that I'm morally bankrupt by a guy who like does a drug where like even a 20 bag has like attached to it at least 5 deaths and 10 rapes.
Yeah.
That's bare minimum. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. Like I don't have like, I'm thinking if you eat meat, then all bets are off because like they eat horse meat, like in the steppe, you know, and like in parts of Central Europe, they eat horse. It's supposed to be like really good. Like horse steaks is supposed to be like really
I would eat horse right now.
I would eat horse immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could probably. I don't think I could do. Obviously, because I live in the West, I don't think I could do dog.
I could eat my dog.
Randy?
Yeah, I don't even like him. I've tried to get rid of that dog like 3 times. My wife gets really worked up about it. But I'm like, he's like 140 pounds. We don't need him in this house. We need like a little chihuahua. And honestly, I need a little chihuahua too.
Yeah. The fucking when you told me that you were drunk, like crying on your couch, and you were just like holding him, and you were like, "You're so bad. I hate you so much.
Mm-hmm.
You're so bad. You're not a good boy.
No,
I
he's
can't."
not.
He's just like big and fat, like it just heaving on you. It just cracked me the fuck up. Yeah, I don't. Well, it was the last episode. We were just like, yeah, there's no, like he was like, we were talking about it, and I was like, I think if you eat cow, you eat pig, because like I've been around cows and pigs. They're nice.
Yeah, I love pigs. Oh my god,
they're so
pigs
sweet.
love you too.
Yeah,
pigs will be your friend.
Pigs will literally be your friend, like a dog will be your friend. They're like loyal pigs, and cows are very, very smart. So like, whenever I used to go to the farm that my like great aunt owned, and I would be like, oh, these things like, but because I still choose to eat them, I'm like, I don't give a fuck if some dude eats a horse or a rabbit or a dog. Like, I think eating a monkey's crazy. Eating a monkey's nuts. And I don't even know about, like, morally. It's just, like, that just seems like a fucked up meal to me.
I feel like eating a monkey. Like, do you watch Alone, the TV show Alone?
Yeah.
The new season's on South Africa, and there's baboons where they're at, and they're allowed to kill and eat the baboon. And when I saw that, I was like, that would be my thing. I'd be like a He Is Legend style thing for the baboons, where they're like, dude, this guy keeps ambushing us. He's not even hungry. Yeah. He's just wearing 1,000 skulls around his neck, hunting these baboons like dogs.
The most dangerous game, dude.
Yeah, I think there might be something wrong with my brain, because even saying that out loud, I was like, oh, is there evil in my heart?
Yeah. Well, I think like if something can kill you and you hunt it, then all right. Like, I think it's morally better than killing and eating like a rabbit. But like, yeah, like if you hunt a bear and you eat the bear, you're like, okay, all right, that's fine. Because if you fuck up, it's game over. He eats you.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be tit for tat. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, when people are like, oh, the dog eating festival in China. And I'm like, have you ever been to the Texas State Fair?
Oh, yeah.
That is our version. We will deep fry in ice cream and Coca-Cola a turkey's leg.
A bunch of people, non-ironically, that I grew up with, like other Christian fundamentalist homeschoolers, have been sharing videos of that. I think it's like some sort of like Shia Islam ceremony that has to do with like the successor to their prophet holding up their baby during battle. And they just do a blessing on future martyrs. And so they hold up their babies and shout like blessings on future martyrs. And it's like, dude, when I was 5 years old, my mom would read graphic depictions of Christians being crucified in 15th century Japan to me. And it's like, I'm pretty sure that's exactly the same. I'm pretty sure that's the same exact vibe I grew up under.
Of course.
And I'm not waging war anytime soon.
No.
I've never had real jihad in my heart. I like chilling.
Ever. Yeah. I remember when we were little, when I was in Sunday school, and they would read Left Behind to us as like biblical canon.
Yeah.
So they would be like, all right, so basically in short, if you don't like get right with God, when the rapture happens, you're going to live like where you live now, but it's just going to be like rape and it's going to be like advanced rape because a demon's going to do it.
Yeah,
to
demon robot AI.
Yeah.
And it's going to have barcodes on their foreheads, and they're going to do it to you.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm with you. I'm like Christian fundamentalists are the first to be like, oh, they Sharia jihadists like tell their children that one day they're going to have to die for their God. And it's like, I was told that.
Yeah, I read a book called She Said Yes that told the story of a hero girl dying for Jesus Christ at Columbine.
Yeah. Oh, the mass shooting. We did a play. I don't know if
they were targeted at Christians somehow in the 90s, right? Mass shootings were an attack on God, right?
Yeah. Well, there was this thing. It was this play that we would have to act out where it was like, a shooter would go up to each person in line and be like, "Do you love Jesus?"
It's just role-playing martyrdom.
Yeah.
Mini ISIS videos.
Yes. So we would do this play where we would line up horizontally in the youth like wing of the church, and like this person who was the shooter would go up to each person and be like, "Do you love Jesus Christ with all your heart?" And the person would go no, and then he would just like shoot them in the knee.
Wait, no. Oh, if they said no, he wouldn't kill them?
Because he was an atheist shooter.
Oh, dude, atheist shooters.
And so if you
Monsters.
and then it would get to the last girl in line, and she would be like, "I'll never renounce my faith," and he would like pretend to blow her brains out.
Yeah.
And then the moral of the story was like, even as you're being persecuted, like for your own blood, like for death, like you do not, like as Peter like denounced Christ, like you cannot denounce, or whatever. And I remember being like, dude, I can't wait to tell a atheist mass shooter that I love God.
Oh, I was so ready to die for Jesus Christ. I was so excited to be a martyr for the Lord Jesus Christ when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Before I had any real sense of like violence or understanding of the way the world worked, I was like, dude, one day when I'm a fucking hero in like Africa or something, because it's not going to be here. I got to go somewhere.
Yeah, of course.
I got to go to a place.
I have to go invade a foreign country to die for my religion. Yeah.
I remember there was this guy that got popular in the early 2000s called the Machine Gun Preacher.
Oh, yeah.
Because he would get into like shootouts with like, Coney's Child Army and stuff like that. And I always remember, even at the time, I was like, aren't we supposed to not do that?
Yeah.
Isn't the whole point that we're going to die for this shit? You go out there and just be like, yeah, I root and toot and shoot him, dude. Oh, you're a Muslim 10-year-old who's only ever known Child Army?
Yeah.
I'm doing this for the Lord, bitch.
Yeah, boom. Yeah, exactly. I was just talking to Ben earlier. We were talking about like the world that like the neo-Christian like tech right wants to build, like the Norman Rockwell, like, white America, like it is a myth. Like it was invented quite literally to like culturally set us apart from the Soviet Union.
Oh yeah, and God We Trust on our dollar was just like a flex.
Yeah. Like it was. We were probably like, if you think of socialism as like the government does stuff in Richard Wolff voice, like we were more socialist then, but we had to like culturally and politically separate ourselves from the Soviet Union. So we invented within the course of like 2 or 3 general elections, like a mythologized white, like, family playing with a dog picket fence, all the stuff that these guys make through AI. Like it was invented by like the U.S. government as a myth or whatever. And it's never been real. And so they want to like return to this thing that was like basically a marketing scheme to get people to like, oh, like all of these retributive economic policies that allowed boomers to basically like thrive. We have to do away with those. We also have to do away with any sense of like community in this country, because like community is bad. Also,
you shouldn't be able to own ovens. You're going to lease them forever. Also, it was bad when people like own their refrigerators. Them should be leased forever.
Yeah. Also, here you have to have a diamond. Diamond, gotta have it. You have to have the diamond, and you have to also take a loan out to buy a house you can't afford. Dude, the perfect trifecta 3-punch combo of completely destroying the country was, in my opinion, outsource labor to cheap countries, destroy American labor unions, and then the overhand right, consumer credit. This is the best. It was, dude, it's so bad, it's so evil, it fucked everything up forever. It'll never get better. But if you were the guy or if you were a part of the group of 12, the big majestic, if you fucking crafted that 3, absolute perfect. It completely destroyed everything.
Oh.
It made like you were completely addicted to like, I'm going to buy an air fryer that sings the Iron Man theme song to me on a credit card with 38% APY. And if you don't do that, then you're like not good. Not a good American.
I bought some more Cold War cards the other day, and one of the options was that I could put it on Klarna.
Yeah.
It was like $25 paid in like 6 interest-free payments.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I just shouldn't buy these.
Right.
It's just a bad thing to buy. But I bought it cash, baby.
Oh, yeah,
I
baby.
bought that shit cash.
Oh, yeah.
It was like $28 after shipping.
When I like Tucker Carlson is a cocksucker, but his whole thing about like, you're like you have Americans that are like putting groceries on layaway.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like, your messaging. We're talking about messaging and how we like trick people to vote for us.
Incredible.
And you have people like, I remember like when Klarna first hit the scene, I was like, I'm not like an economic or like prophet for this, but it's like when Klarna first hit the scene, I remember thinking to myself, oh, you're fronting me a hot dog? We're fucked. like you're fronting me.
The bank isn't my homie.
Yeah. Like what? Like as a general view, like you're fronting me a pair of pants.
Yeah.
On loan.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Like like if I can't afford a $50 pair of jeans outright, then something is I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. But about like a pair of Levi's that I saw on Instagram, like no, yeah, your Cold War cards. Hey, if I just front me the baseball cards and I'll get it back to you in a couple months. Like you can't even consume anymore with your own money. You can't even buy shit. You can't buy anything. You have to you have to Klarna it.
Yeah.
When the new money app becomes a verb, let me Venmo you. Can I Klarna those shoes?
Klarna those shoes.
Yeah, it's over.
Hey, can I Klarna my medicine for the month? Is there a way I could Klarna the medicine I need to save my life for the next 6 months?
Putting a fleshlight on Klarna should be something that you like immediately get executed for.
Oh man,
like a big fuck ass. Like a big...
I'll tell you, dude. If I was like a guy at the bank and I saw that come through, I'd be like, "Yeah, you can have a little free money, man." If things so bad you need some artificial puss around the house, dude, let me give you a 0 interest loan, my man. I'd be such a chill banker. First off, I'd be the chillest banker. If I felt like you needed to come or you needed a nut bad, I'd be like, oh, you take $50-$60, get one of them fleshlights.
Yeah, you're like you see a guy on DoorDash like Klarna-ing like a 24-pack of Keystone, and you're like, I'm just gonna make an error here on behalf of you,
dude.
Like,
this one's on the house.
Yeah.
Low interest, empty balls, dude. Welcome to the Bank of Kelly, dude.
I saw that like it was this big news story in like the Financial Times or whatever that was like, over half of like young Americans that use buy now pay later services aren't paying, and I'm like, really?
I wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
I remember one time there was this dishwasher that worked at Bowling Creek Cafe, and he said, "Hey man, can I borrow $20?" And I said, "Yeah." And then the next day he stopped showing up for work.
Yeah.
Because that's how it works.
Yeah.
If you're gonna front me $20, dude, game over. You're never getting that back.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna line me up with some fucking Cold War cards from American
right.
From the fucking website I buy Cold War cards from right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's mine.
Yeah.
You can't come for that $20. You can take me to court? Bitch made.
I've stolen from you.
Yeah.
You've been stolen from.
I've stolen from
Yeah,
you.
like that was my whole thing about credit cards and student loans like back in the day where like with the new law or whatever, like they fucked it up to where like you can't make payments, like you can't use like the save thing anymore for student loans. And they're like, we're going to garnish your wages. And I'm like, I think you're overestimating how much I care about this.
Yeah. Oh, you gonna take a little off the top? Everyone takes a little off the top.
Yeah.
There's lines on my paycheck every single time. I'm like, who's Social Security?
Yeah.
How are you? What the
Who
fuck
is
are you talking
FICA?
about? Yeah. What the fuck is this?
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody takes a little off the top. Also, if you're not talking about hunting me down, Minority Report style, unless you're willing to reinvent the debtor prison, like we're not living on the same planet.
I'll Waco over this.
Yeah.
I'm not coming out.
Right.
I will end the world for me based on this.
For a $1,000 MasterCard expense, like you're talking to a guy who like I was never taught or brought up to be like as financially stable as I am right now is probably as good as it's going to get. And I'm fucking stupid.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah. Like, I remember, like, they were talking about the student that's like, now it's time to start paying those bills, millennials. And I'm like, these people are so stuck. Everybody, I think, we've talked about this maybe previously on an episode or maybe just hanging out. Everybody's stuck in 2014.
Yeah.
The youngest millennial is 29 years old.
Yeah.
Like, it's time to start paying those bills, millennials, or like time to grow up. I think the oldest millennial is 45.
Yeah, for real.
What are you talking about?
My favorite is when you see headlines that are like, "Oh, new millennial head of banking. Oh, millennial CEO of Red Lobster." I'm like, dude, that's a dad with a kid in high school.
It's a 43-year-old man.
Yeah. Oh, this new millennial Red Lobster CEO is gonna shake things up. Why? Because he saw fucking gay porn on Tumblr?
Right.
What does that do? What does that do for him that's going to be different?
He finger banged the girl to like 400 lux by Lord. Like,
yeah, because MGMT was so fucking tight at the time.
He got pussy to Strokes' Room on Fire when it came out.
That does sound good.
That sounds awesome.
Do you know what I wish I had? Like, in the same way that people are like, oh, I wish I saw Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock.
Yeah.
More than anything, I wish I could have seen Borat in a theater with people that hadn't seen it before. Mm-hmm. I've talked to dudes that are maybe 5-6 years older than me, and it sounds like the best time ever. And they talk about people rolling on the floor laughing, it being the most explosive laughter they'd ever heard in their life. And it's like, because I mean, at the time,
we were young.
Oh,
I think I was like 12.
I was like 11 or 12, something like that.
Yeah.
But if I could have been a teenager in a Borat theater, with a bunch of dudes that had never seen, didn't really know what was coming, that would be my Jimi Hendrix Woodstock. I'd love to live that moment.
Of course, I always think about being able to see any of the Jackasses. I think Jackass 3 came out and I was like 17, but like I always watched them at home. Being able to see Preston Lacey like shit into a tube that everybody's breathing into, like in the theater, just to have just a great American moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you remember Nut Taps?
Of course. I used to have a bit about nut taps, and I don't know if you had it at your school. It was called Scoop or Bean Dip.
Oh, yeah. Bean Dip or Scoop.
Where you'd go like,
sometimes you'd say Presto Molesto, your Bresto's Majesto.
Yes, yeah. It's like every Friday. Also, we had Slap Ass Fridays at my junior high.
Okay, that rules. Your gym coach definitely made that up.
I'm not kidding.
A teacher definitely made that up.
It came from the football team. and so I remember like in junior high, 2006, like George Bush is still president. Everything's great, you know. Bean Dip, Slap Ass Friday, Scoops. Like guys would go up to girls and just grab the underside of their tit and flop them.
Whoa, it was only dude on dude in my world. In
No,
the fundamentalist Christian world, there's no way you could get that done on a woman.
No, dude, guys were doing that. Was scooping. Well, there was also the nut scoop, but it was like casual, sexual assault, basically, of like oh, it's Friday, like slap a girl on the ass, and everybody's like and then the teachers got to be like it was one of those big Texas high schools where like the coach is like the strength and conditioning coach makes $160,000 a year, and they have to cycle a new one every 3 years because he just keeps fingering the cheerleader. Yeah, it's just one of those.
Those kids that went to that school are now like in fucking YouTube channels being like, rape culture is made up. Rape culture is not even real. We used to be so much more chill. There was not a gender divide like there is today, okay?
Yeah. Well, it's the fucking articles that came out after the election that were like I just read another one that was like white men are still feeling like anxious in the workplace.
What? White boy can't handle a little work?
Well,
white boy can't handle a little bit of work?
It just came out, and I was like, why are we circling this drain again? And I read the article. I don't know if it was in the Atlantic.
What are they anxious about?
So they're anxious about workplace culture and like restrictive cultural, what they said, they can't say certain things, they can't behave in certain ways. That's what they're anxious about.
Fair enough.
And I was reading the article, and I remember the Financial Times did another one on it about like the Cruel Kids table, which was like the new young American right, the countercultural right, about like many people that they interviewed were like at this big conference after the Trump election were like, oh, I literally just want to say faggot and retard. Mm-hmm. Like that's it. That's all I want to say. Like that was a big, not a single issue for them, but a big issue. And the article that I'm referencing was very similar of like, oh, I just feel so restricted. And I'm like, part of me believes that people a little bit younger than us, maybe around our age cohort, were promised a workplace culture that they saw in like Mad Men or like Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah. They saw a workplace culture that very much existed of like, hey, Deb, wonderful titties. And she's like, oh, thank you. And, you know, hey, Cheryl, I love the way that dress hugs your ass. And she has to be like, you know what I mean? Like, just, whatever. And they don't get that at all. And they want to quite literally do white Sharia because of it.
Well, so my wife works at a corporate job where she's like not allowed to cuss, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in my morning meetings, I'm like, hello, happy a Friday, boys. Fucking crushes. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like I don't know, maybe it's just because I telemarket, and then like in a telemarketing office, you're allowed to drink alcohol during the day.
Yeah.
In the telemarketing office, if you don't have weed, you look around, you're like, who here has weed?
Yeah.
Which one of you guys has weed right now? I got to cold call a bunch of people.
I think it's just a lack of I've worked in offices that are real stuffy too, and then I've worked in places that are like, oh, everybody here we should all be fired. We should just be fired. But again, it's like when I read shit like that, I'm like, oh, just go to work. Go work blue collar. If you want to whistle at girls and say the N-word, go weld.
Yeah, work in any kitchen ever.
Go work in any kitchen. Go be a pipe fitter, whatever. It's just the fact that the white collar spaces for that type of stuff are dwindling. But then again, I'm like, go work on a trading floor. Yeah. Go work on any trading floor. Have you ever seen footage like Robert Downey Jr. went to? Well, I mean, this was 30 years ago, but go look at any trading floor, how they talk, how they are. Just go do that. But you can't because you're like not smart enough. For what it's worth, some of those guys that do work in the industry are really good with numbers. I think that's the problem. Is it's like, how can I be a 90 IQ, aggrieved nerd, but be able to sexually harass the secretary? Like, what world do I need to be? Who do I need to vote for me to allow to live in that reality?
Any tech company.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about my feudal lord shit?
No.
Dude, I became a feudal lord.
What?
Have I told you this? Oh, dude, I'm so excited to tell you this. Okay, so a little bit of backstory. So my friend mows my yard for me, right?
Oh, yes.
Have I told you this? He's been mowing my yard for a while?
You told me that you have a mowing guy.
Mowing guy. Matty Stew over at Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
Great mowing guy. One day he's mowing my yard and his lawnmower breaks. Mm-hmm. And so I go, hey, I used to have a small lawn mowing company. I have a little commercial one. Finish it with mine. You can just borrow it for a few months until you get a new one. He borrowed it and then just never got a new one because I didn't need it back because he was mowing my yard anyways. And we were fine. He asked every few weeks, do you need it back? I'm like, no, just keep it. So when we moved into this house, we bought this house.
Yeah.
I own this land. I say, Matty, I need my fucking mower back. And he says, well, what if you just let me keep it and I mow your yard for free? And I was like, okay, but here's the caveat, Jake. He says, and when you want it back, I'll just give it to you. So it's not like a lease to own or anything. I own the means of production, and he comes and works my land for free. He's my feudal peasant.
Yeah,
By the way, he's a wounded veteran.
I love that.
He's my peasant. I became a feudal lord, and I was like, holy shit. I get to fuck your wife on your wedding night. This is insane, man.
First night's right, baby. Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy, dude.
That rocks, dude.
And I told him, I was like, that's a pretty bad deal for you, man. He's like, no, I like it. I'm in the neighborhood. Takes me 15 minutes to do your lawn. Makes sense for me. Yeah. And I go, please call me Lord from here on out. Yeah, I think what I know about feudalism, this is that.
He walks up to the front of your house and he's bowed to the point where his head's pointed towards you.
He doesn't walk to the front. He has a servant's interest.
He's not walking to the front of the house.
No, wait. Make him go around back. He's taking off his shoes.
Yeah.
No, hey, Mr. JT. There it is.
Man, I don't think I think because it didn't happen for me at a younger age. Like, I want to say that I've been alive and I've had normal jobs long enough where, I would have never let it happen to me. And I think that's true right now. But I do remember when I really wanted to, I thought I was going to go to law school. Like, I had it in my head that I was like, oh, I'm going to be the hammer. Nice. Like, I had such a deep resentment for my own stock in life. Mm-hmm. I was a classic striver, I think is the term. Like, my own stock in life where I was like, oh my God, everybody that I fucking know is stupid. Like, how do I enter this world of decadent luxury? How the fuck do I get here?
Yeah.
Because I can't live in this anymore. I can't help that I was born in the body that I was born in. Like, I have this story that I tell that is true where I lived in a trailer park and my neighbor lived in a trailer, had an above ground pool. And then I had another friend I met in school. He had an in-ground pool. The first time I ever swam in an in-ground pool, I refused to swim in my friend's above-ground pool after that. I was ruined. I was like, I had no pool. We had a baby pool from Walmart that my dad would drink Miller Lite in and smoke weed in. Mm-hmm. I would go to my buddy's place, tell his parents, you guys really need to get an in-ground pool. I was 10 years old.
Get it together, guys.
What are you doing? This is trash. So what I'm saying is, from a young age, I was like, oh, this simply can't be. So
your wife is a reflection of your income.
Yeah, I was rich dad, poor dadding myself.
Your pool is a reflection of your work ethic.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember thinking like, oh, like if this were when I was like in my like very early 20s, even though I was like politically left wing or whatever, I was like, oh, if I get to work for like a big oil and gas firm, like all this shit's, I'm done with this shit. Yeah. I'm done. And I feel like the older that I am, the more that I'm not that way. But like I think about like the feudal peasant thing, and I remember thinking like went to a buddy's place and he had cleaners. Like not like this is my house, like paying $100 a month for someone to come clean your house. He had people that came every day and cleaned his home.
Wow.
Very, very, very rich, very rich. And I was like,
do they make his bed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to be like, I'd love to go and say, I messed it up again. Sorry, I made a mess of it again. Could you get it again, Maria? She's like, my name's not Maria.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is like when I've seen it and I've seen like the kind of power play that happens, and I'm like, oh, I absolutely see how, like, I buy the idea that it's a mental illness. Yeah. And a couple, like, people much smarter than me and much more well-read, like, serious political thinkers have been like, if abject poverty, like, rewires your brain and 100%. Makes you, like, a violent, scared, paranoid person because you live in a violent, scary, and paranoid world, then abject wealth, like, you are so detached from people that you, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, when people are like, how could you do this?
It's wild how like stupid rich people are.
Oh,
when you're talking to the wildly rich people that are just like brain dead stupid on how the way the world works, dude. On like the way news works. Like it is insane talking to people where I'm like, you have never thought anything other than what everyone in your family has thought. You've never thought anything other than what a bunch of other rich people told you. Yeah. You've never understood other people's perspectives.
I remember when I lived at the house, like basically like the rat infested drug den we all lived in when I was doing stand up like my early 20s, and I was bad off with the opiates. It was so bad. I was fucking like just dope sick all the time. And I remember my buddy, the same buddy I was talking about, he crashed on our couch for a bit while his like fancy ass condo was like getting ready. And he was a big time druggie too. And I remember I was like literally like just pale, like yellow, like sick all the time. And I would like run out of pills. And he would just be sitting there and he would be like, Yeager, why don't you have your parents send you to rehab? And he was like, my dad always told me that if I ever want to get clean, that he can just take me to Malibu. There's a 3-month program, and they have yoga, and you do a lot of like
you and Shia LaBeouf doing push-ups.
Yes, yeah, like one of those like celebrity rehabs in California.
I'd do that right now.
Oh yeah, I would have had the money. But that was it. I was like, I don't have the money, and my parents are broke. And he didn't understand. He understood the first part. He didn't understand the second part. He was like, what do you mean your parents are broke? And I was like, my parents legitimately have no money. And he was like, oh, like it's all tied up? And I was like,
none of it's liquid? No, it's all liquid. They drank it all.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I was like, my mother is addicted to slot machines, and my dad is a crack addict. Like, that is where we're at. And he would be like, oh, well, like, they've got, like, assets, right? Stocks? And I was like, my dad doesn't know what the stock market is. And I didn't understand him. He didn't understand me. And it was like we were speaking English, but I could have might as well been speaking fucking Cantonese to him. He had no idea. He was like, so you're telling me your dad has nothing invested? And I was like, my dad doesn't have a checking account. And he'd be like, you're exaggerating. And I'm like, there are people, a lot of people in this country who get a bank account, run up credit cards, and then abandon that bank account and go get a new one. It's like how a lot of people get by.
Yeah.
Like millions of Americans. It's how my mom paid her bills forever. It's how I had like 3 bank accounts in the course of 2 years because I would get payday loans and then I would just not pay them and then I would close the bank account because they would withdraw me negative and I'd go get a new bank.
The first time I did that, I thought they thought I died. I thought, if I just close my bank account after a payday loan, they'll just think I'm dead.
Yeah.
And then you go to a new bank, and then like a year or so later, they say like, "Hey, do you remember that money?" And I go, "What are you, obsessed with me?"
Yeah.
I'm dead. You're insane.
Oh my God, do you want to fuck me or something?
I remember I was talking to this girl at Buzzmill many years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, blah, blah, blah. My boy just pawned his laptop for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, he pawned it, so he just got a loan on it.
Yeah.
And she was like, so he sold it? And I was like, you've never had to go down this road.
Right. Yeah,
you've no idea what it's like. I'm like, that's our bank.
Yeah.
Like, that is our bank. That's how we get loans.
That's our liquid assets. Yeah.
It's funny how many dudes that, like, I knew growing up that just, like, threw cars on their yard, and that's, like, their bank account.
Yep.
Where it's like, I bought this car for $3,000. I can sell it for $3,000 anytime. It hasn't run in 15 years.
Yeah.
That's my asset I have.
Yeah. No, I mean, my dad would get a guitar, have it for a couple months, and then pawn it. And then he would buy a badass amp because he got a good job. He'd get fired from the job. He'd pawn the amp. And so I grew up as I built out, like, I have like probably 10, 15 grand worth of music equipment that I've had for 20 years. All pawn shop stuff, by the way, because like what I learned is the pawn shop is a double-edged sword. It's a place where you go to get money when you can't pay your bills, but also a lot of pawn shops don't know what they have.
Yeah.
I've got like $1,000 guitars for $200 at pawn shops before. But yeah, same thing, dude. Like I remember, same friend. I would be like, I would literally be packing my car up with like $5,000 worth of music equipment, and I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna go pawn this stuff, and he'd be like, oh, well, you should be able to get like a really nice chunk of change for it. And I'm like, no, you don't know how it works. What they're gonna do is they're gonna look at all this, they're going to put a value on it, and then they're gonna say, okay, we'll give you $400 for this.
Yeah.
Because if I don't pay it, they're gonna make a 300x profit on all this fucking shit. Oh. He's like, oh, so it's $5,000. He'd be like, so why are you pawning it if you can't get what it's worth? And I'm like, again, you're not understanding what this is. This is. This is the safest place I can keep this equipment. Yes.
This is the safest option for this equipment right now.
Yeah. Also, like this is, to your point, like this is a safety net that like I have and I will always have forever. Like, you know, I probably at the time, at least, I believed I would never be in a position where it would just not be like a thing that I could easily liquidate so I could get by for another month or two. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing about I went to St. Ed's. I told you that was like a big culture shock for me because most of the friends that I made were either like people that were in my position that just got like their like scholarships, or they were rich kids whose parents were paying literally like $60,000 a year, $30K a semester to go there, and they had no idea what I was talking about ever. Yeah. None. I'd be like, yeah, fucking, I got to stretch out like $20. This week. They would be like, I just ask your parents for money. And I'm like, I just gave my mom $100. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I was telling I was seeing this girl and I was telling her, I was like, yeah, when me and my friends branded our asses, we had to keep it clean for a few days. So we were using pop-off vodka. And she's like, what's that? And I was like, oh, it's like the plastic bottle vodka. And she said, vodka comes in plastic bottles?
Oh my God.
I was like, yeah, it does. In fact, I've only had that type of vodka. I've never had that high-end blown glass drink that you're used to,
Frosted glass vodka.
What are you drinking with the Sultan of Baton or something?
Yeah, I'm drinking Kentucky Gentleman. It's just grain liquor dyed brown.
I'm drinking gin from Winco.
Yeah. I remember I was just talking to Ashley about this last night. She was like, oh, you know what I miss? I miss Golden Corral. And I was telling her a story about how, like, towards the end of my, like, longest relationship before her or whatever, there's this rich girl from San Antonio, and we dated for a really long time. And I remember me and Cameron were telling her and her best friend about Golden Corral, and I was like, dude, it's the shit. $8. And it's like, that's where you go and you have like, you know, that's when like somebody gets pregnant or gets married. Y'all go to Golden Corral and y'all fucking pig out on pizza and steak and barbecue and Chinese food. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, it's the American buffet. It's the most American thing besides like the Bunker Buster bomb. Yeah. It's incredible. You cake, cookies, steak, pizza, fucking goddamn chicken piccata, whatever the fuck you want. And so we like talked them into going. And we take them there, and if they're like, what is this? And I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened. No. And she was like, this is disgusting. And in my head, I was like, I'm leaving you. I'm leaving you. Like the relationship was falling apart, but it was one of those you keep in mental notes. You're like, if any more of these stack up, I'm leaving. That was like one of the tipping where I was like, did you just call Golden Corral disgusting? This is, I can't. We are so incompatible that this can't work.
It's like calling Muhammad Ali gay.
Yeah.
I'm furious
it's
right
like drawing Muhammad to me.
It's like saying Bannon's a Leninist.
Yeah.
I'm furious.
Dude, yeah. I can't believe you didn't see that. All those guys, like, Bannon's cohort are like, they just, for whatever reason, read State and Revolution like 3 years ago. And not for whatever reason. I mean, they're Nazis or fascists. So, like, why? And they're not even the smart kind of fascists. They're just, like, the corporate fascists. They're not educated. And so all of them are like, oh, my God, I have this new crazy idea. I have this new idea that's mine where you dismantle the administrative state and then you remake it in your image.
I think they finally read Mein Kampf and they were like, oh, this guy's really scared of communists and Marxists. I wonder what they're about. I think they read Mein Kampf. Because if you actually read Mein Kampf, huge portions of it are just about how communists will ruin everything for fascists. Huge portions of it are like, beware of any type of socialist. Anything further left than a socialist. Like, be scared of all these. These are the people that can take down our movement. And so I think they read that and they're like, all right, what's the deal? And they were like, okay, this is actually some pretty good points. Right. I see why Hitler hated these guys the most, or second most, I guess.
Yeah. Like, well, the thing about it, I think, for them is it's like, I think if your politics are primarily just sadism, you don't really have any political vision. You're just a sadist. Like, you're a cruel sadist. So outside of like getting kicked out of watching like families torn apart and deportations and cops beat people, you don't have any political opinions. When you read something like Lenin, you're like, what the fuck? What? Whoa. So I can just like, you know, like use the state to eat itself and then remake it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of those guys like the only political worldview they have is punishment. Yeah. And so they read something by a guy who thought a lot about how to remake political reality, and they're like, oh, yeah, of course these guys were right.
Do you remember 10 years ago when the fascist group in Greece, I think it was Golden Dawn, was getting really popular and they were winning a lot of seats and stuff like that? I watched this little YouTube video about them. It was the type that you had to read like subtitles on, but a bunch of those guys that were involved in like lower level organizing were former Greek communists. That were doctors and all types of like aid workers that weren't getting any money. And so the nationalists were like, hey, we want to fund serve the people programs. And so all of these like 60 plus communists were like, well, yeah, communism failed. Let's try this. And so many of those people don't even ideologically believe in the fucking Golden Dawn bullshit. No. They're just Greek and they want their Greek friends good. Yes. They're just like, well, how else are we going to get hospitals in rural parts of my part of the country?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the age-old thing of like these guys don't have their own ideas. Like they have to steal. I mean, Mussolini was like the progenitor or whatever of the idea of like, oh, I have to imprison Gramsci because and then say all of his ideas are mine because like all I really want to do is like rule the country and punish people. But I don't have any means of doing that or whatever. And that's a very reductive way of putting it. But I mean, Hitler, when he was coming to power, you couldn't play ball in like turn of the century German politics without like the whole thing of like national socialist, Nazi, like the American understanding of what that is. I like have tried and failed on the internet. I made a no debating on the internet rule 5 years ago. Changed my fucking life.
It's the rule. It's the absolute move. Yeah.
But before that, I was like trying to like manic screed of like, okay, if you will give me a chance, I will tell you why this is the way that it is. At the turn of the 20th century in Germany, if you wanted to play ball in German politics, you had to have socialists or workers in your party.
Yeah.
Because in the same way that like capital and freedom and liberty were like the groundwork of our political revolution in the late 1700s, early 1800s, in Germany, it was socialist because Karl Marx was there. And his writings and Engels' writings were like Proudhon and Bakunin. And
people liked the guy.
People liked the guy. And so
he almost moved to Texas. How crazy would that have
been? That's so fucking funny, dude.
He would have gotten one fucking ounce of Mexican pussy and would have never written again. He would have been like, never mind, this is it.
They're doing it different down here. He starts talking to each according to his ability, motherfucker. And anyway, like he was like, all right, well, we'll call it the National Socialist Party. I'll carry this guy on my side, Strasser. He's, like
the auto guy.
Yeah, he was like basically like kind of like what was not uncommon at the time was like an anti-Semitic Marxist. Who they were, a dime a dozen back then.
Trust me, I know a few as well.
Me too, buddy. And anyway, like Hindenburg makes Hitler chancellor or whatever, and then all the big business guys, they have a choice to make in Germany. They're like, well, do we side with the socialists and communists, or do we side with Hitler? And Hitler's like, I won't make you do anything different. You just have to let me use your infrastructure to kill people. Well, I will let you keep your money. And they were like, oh, that's an easy one.
That's all we wanted. All we wanted was our money and a good time.
Yeah.
That's all they want.
That's why I'm like, the big thing where it's like, of course they'll always flee to the far right because it's like, well, we'll let you IBM and that, we'll let you do Elon. You do whatever you want. You just let us use your infrastructure to hurt people. And people don't get that. They still are like, no. You know what I mean? And
two things there is like every single organization is going to have a left and a right wing. Yeah. It's about how far those left and right wings can be within that organization. So at one point, the Nazi party had a much further left than they did at
Yeah,
another
yeah.
point. That's still not as far left as a guy like you and me are.
Right.
I'd say about the same as the average Democrat, if you ask me.
Right.
But they had a much, wider. The other thing is I worked with this guy who worked in Army intelligence, and he told me an Army secret about a Army base underneath a pineapple farm in Hawaii that's in the ground, like a mile deep underground or some shit like
Awesome.
that. But also, I remember he said, you're a communist. Well, the Nazis were communists. And I said, no, they weren't. And he's like, well, why was it in the name? And I said, can I just be 100% honest with you right now? I was like, I don't think you really know what you're talking about, but I'm just going to break it down for you. Do you believe that the North Korean country is a democratic people's republic? And he was like, of course not. And I was like, but it's in the name. And he was like, oh, that's a good point. And I was like, yeah, like, if you take 2 seconds and think about it.
Yeah.
And you see people on the internet especially, they're like, there's a reason they were National Socialists. And it's like, yeah, there is, but you don't know it.
Yeah, you don't know
You fucking brain-dead ass monkey of a man. You know what I mean? You absolute baboon typing into a typewriter for Twitter, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, you don't. But I think the whole thing about, I learned this from being on the internet for too long, is like pointing out the hypocrisy or lack of understanding doesn't matter, because reality, I don't think, I know that this is a really cringy, like, critical theory thing, like, society, the spectacle bullshit, but, like, base level reality does not matter. It's what you can get people to, like, feel and think about, vibes. It's just, like Mussolini's idea of, like, the culture, like, the myth of the will. Like, the law and reality is the cultural belief system of a given society. It doesn't matter, like, what that means, what National Social, it doesn't matter. It's about what you can get people to believe about that.
White supremacy is telling me I can't eat dogs. White supremacy is literally saying, oh, we're good whites.
Yeah.
We eat chicken and cow, not beautiful little dogs that I bet are delicious.
Right. Well, I mean,
even if the breed was specifically made for eating, and they're kind of fat and tiny and fat.
I didn't know that like the Mayans and the Incas ate Chihuahuas like gangbusters. They were eating them motherfuckers crazy style, because they, like, you can get them real plump and they would just eat the fuck
That's
out of
how
them.
I would do it too.
Yeah,
I'd get those guys so plump. Even if I wasn't going to eat them, I just
Renaissance
like
Fair, and you get the big ass turkey leg. Imagine if that was just a big ass Chihuahua.
Yeah, I would love that.
Delicious.
Again, imagine a necklace of Chihuahua skulls.
That would be pretty sick.
It'd be pretty sick.
Yeah. We need to go back to, like, I think if we slip any further into, like, a state of nature sort of situation, things really fall apart. My wife did tell me, she was like, yeah, I'd probably just kill myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm too much of a pussy. I'd try to eke it out. I think I would become like a necklace skull guy.
Oh, 100%.
If I could win, like if I could survive, I think I would completely lose my mind.
You're talking about Mad Maxin, right?
Yeah.
I'd be the guy that's like naked, you know what I mean? Naked with like a skull around my neck. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just trying to look like a train punk style kid just to scare people off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're like, okay, there's 6 of us, but that guy has a bunch of penises around his neck.
Guy's covered in doo-doo.
Yeah.
It's human poop. Like, the poop man of Raton Creek?
Yeah. They're like they're rolling up on you in a dune buggy, and they're all armed, and you just have a huge piece of wood, but you just have like a bunch of like decaying human dicks around your neck, and you're just covered in shit. Those guys are gonna think.
Yeah. I'd be a legend.
Yeah. They're gonna be like, okay, we could probably kill him, but if we lose, we're gonna get added to the dick necklace collection. And then it's game over for you and me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You see that dick necklace collection, you go, I think I'll try to attack someone who's not collecting penises.
Let's go to the other side of the riverbank. Let's just see what's on the other side of the riverbank.
Did I tell you about like the kind of semi-HOA I live in?
No.
It's like an HOA kind of, but it's not. Like there's no rules or anything. It's called a deed restricted community.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah.
So there's a position on the board of directors. Guess what it is?
What?
Head of Neighborhood Watch.
Oh, my God.
It's an unfilled seat. Not only am I going to run for it, I'm going to try to get a lieutenant on every block. I'm going to try to run for...
You're trying to get shooters?
Oh, yeah. I want my eyes, dude. I want people to say, oh, no, JT's got eyes and ears on every block.
You're the Stasi of the neighborhood?
I want to have a secret police.
Yeah.
When I saw that, and part of the responsibility is organizing people to be in the neighborhood watch. And I was like, I would go door to door. I would make a little costume for myself, making myself look like fucking Gaddafi. I would dress in like a full Gaddafi garb, knock on doors, and be like, salute, neighbor. I'm the head of the neighborhood watch, and I'm looking for lieutenants to keep our family safe.
Yeah.
And I guarantee, with the way that we have fluoride in the water, there's going to be an autistic guy on every single block that's like, oh, I'm in, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Are we supposed to carry guns? I go, you betcha, buddy.
Yeah.
You betcha you're supposed to carry guns.
This is Texas.
We're training. We're going to do training. We're going to do ISIS-style training camps in the park next to the swim meets.
I'm building monkey bars in my backyard as we speak.
We're bringing the boys by.
Yeah.
We're going to make some videos that are getting on Fox News, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
Would love to dress up as the Colonel. I asked them to call me the Colonel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
the
just
Colonel.
like Judge Holden from Blood Meridian. They're like... You just go bald and get real pale. Like, just shave off all your hair. Burn your fingertips off. Just get huge.
I get one of those vests that's like not a bulletproof vest but looks like it.
Oh, like
for
the
people that don't
tactical
know.
like plate carrier vest?
Yeah, like the Blackwater. I just I need extra radio style vest,
Yes,
you know?
Yeah. Dude, whenever I see a picture, and I was in California like fucking half the month, and I see a picture of like 6 fat motherfuckers, and they have that shit on. They're the ice guys with their fucking shiesties on, and their hats and the helmets and the fucking thing. And they have like a vest that has like, I need 18 walkie-talkies and I need fucking 16 clips. And they all show up to like, suplex a fucking 33-year-old like Guatemalan lady or whatever the fuck.
Just working at Chipotle.
Yeah.
She's taking the trash out of Chipotle and she's got fucking an absolute swarm on her.
I've talked to Cameron about this, and I know some people think this is corny. Whenever I see people see that and they're like, got what I voted for. Yes, sir. Got what I voted for. I believe in my heart of hearts that, and this is a big if, I understand this is an impotent rage from me. If I'm ever a part of anything where the shoe's on the other foot, you get 2 options. You can go to a re-education camp gladly. You can be excited to go. Or you get to die by gunfire.
Yeah.
Those are the only... Whenever I see like a video of a kid because his mom's being like loaded in a car, he's crying so hard he's throwing up, and the comments are like, don't come here. Stay the fuck out. We're full. I'm like... You would get 2 options. You can spend 2 years in a facility where you're going to read what I tell you to read for 2 years, or all of my friends are going to shoot you in the head. That's it. That's it. You don't get anything else. No, like, I don't understand this. Like, well, you talk to them. Some people draw their line in the fucking sand, and, it's sad. Some people, they were brainwashed or whatever. However they ended up where they're at, they're there. It's sad. But... fucking fate is the gayest tapestry woven of all time. That's just the way she goes.
Yeah.
I want to just be like, it's 4 white walls, and you're just going to read Lenin and stuff, and you're going to read these books. Or I'm gonna dress you up like the red Teletubby and fire you out of a trebuchet into the Austin Lake.
Not looking to apologize when it's our turn. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Not looking to apologize when it's our turn.
Well, because I don't. Whenever I read a story of like North Korean generals like embezzling money for a floodgate, and then they build it like shit, and then Kim Jong-un brings like 10 pipe-hitting motherfuckers up there and blows that guy's head off. And the news in America is like, oh my God, they killed these, like basically the equivalent of like a mayor somewhere in like some prefecture up there.
Bring that here.
Bring it here yesterday.
I want those. You remember how like the Soviets came and studied Ford's machines to see how quickly he made cars?
Yeah.
I want our politicians to go and study how quickly they call it. There was that Vietnamese lady that stole from banks, and so they're like, yeah, we're going to execute her.
Yeah.
And everyone here is like, that's horrible. And I'm like, well, she stole from people.
Yeah.
That's actually stealing's wrong, believe it or not.
Lying and stealing and exploiting people is like...
I don't mean to sound like a Christian fundamentalist, but don't steal from your family.
Right.
Don't steal from your friends.
Don't steal from your compatriots of your country.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's why I'm always like, oh yeah, it'll never get better here in the sense that I want it to, because it's like, I'll talk to people who are like, like my friends from college. I remember having this conversation several times. It was just like, we would just argue back and forth and whatever, like after class, we're all drinking, and it would be like, oh yeah, like billionaires are corrupt or whatever. And I'm like, okay, right. So like, if your penalty is financial to a person of whom money is no object, then there is no penalty.
Yeah.
If your penalty is death, everybody understands that.
Yeah.
It's the great equalizer. Like that guy Jack Ma that was trying to become the Elon Musk of China, they disappeared him for 3 months. He comes back and now he just paints flowers.
Good job.
Good job.
Fantastic. Fantastic show. That's exactly what I want to see.
Incredible. If I just didn't see Bezos or Elon on the news for 3 months and they came back and they were just wearing like a black T-shirt with like black joggers, like the goddamn Khmer Rouge get up, and they were like, I started like a hunger fund, and I'm parking a bunch of my stuff there, and I think I'm just gonna go on a sabbatical. I would be like, Perfect. That's it. That's great.
Fantastic.
That's great. I remember like one of the things too. I learned this from a buddy who like lived in China a long time and moved to New York. He was telling me that a lot of the CCP like death penalties, basically it's like renewed. They don't kill. They do sometimes, but they every 2 years it's like renewed. Like they like it's kind of like parole, where like they just keep you in jail. And then every 2 years, it'll usually for these like billionaire people who embezzle like wealth, like capitalist pig psycho types. They're like, do you still want to make a bunch of money and lie to steal people? And they're like, I don't know, maybe. And they're like, all right, well, we'll kill you in 2 years. And then they, whatever. I'm like, that's not a bad deal. You know what I mean? That's not a terrible. I'm fine with that, But you pitch it here, and it's like, people get all upset.
Well, like actually, prisons are how we get license plates made. Rich people would be bad at that.
That's how we fight forest fires. Like 19-year-olds with weed charges and shit. Yeah, it's so fucking stupid, dude.
My favorite rhetoric for my Republican friends or my conservative friends that like, because most of those people that like are genuinely rejoicing for ICE to be kidnapping ladies working at Walmart, they would say they just need to do it a legal way. And most of them believe that. And they think there's some sort of nefarious evil that these people have for breaking the rules. God, pretend like you low-key agree with them. You go like, oh, yeah, I definitely think, people should do it legally and we need to find ways for them to do it legally. But it's like a paperwork thing, right? And when you get a Republican to admit that they want someone kidnapped and disappeared because they didn't do paperwork, you can lay that on them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's weird how into bureaucracy you are.
Yeah.
So, like, you think bureaucratic rules should, like, run the country? It's like a paperwork thing. It sounds so communist-y.
Yeah.
It's what is that about? I have seen the most like hard right-wing lined people start to reel it in when they kind of hit that whole like, oh shit, am I worshiping paperwork?
Yeah.
Is like paperwork the boss to me right now?
Yeah.
My paperwork's bitch.
One of the things I think I've seen is the idea that like these guys are also the first people that will like make jokes on Instagram about how like the ATF and game wardens like make their lives hell.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like you're telling me I can't have a lower receiver that's blah blah blah, or I can't like fish without a license, and it's like, okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that like federal jackbooted thugs, if they're bothering you, it's bad and they should all be killed. Because these guys make skits on Instagram where they like squad wipe an entire ATF squadron where they're like, I've got this sick angle in my house and I'm aiming at the fucking Fed boys. Those boogaloo retard. Oh my God.
And it's like, buddy, you don't stand a chance.
First of all, let's be real. Yeah. If 6 guys armed came to your house to take your guns, you would say, here you go.
You're going to die for your guns? What are you, gay for guns, dude? We live in America. We can get more guns.
Yeah, dude.
Legally, without paperwork.
Yeah. First of all, no one's coming to take them. I don't know how many times I've had to tell them, like people like my uncle, I'm like, nobody's coming to take them from you.
There's been 2 times in history where we did forced de-arming of the public. It was in Illinois and it was in New York. They took black people's guns.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They went and, they might take your guns. They're going to take black people's guns who have paperwork saying they have guns. That's who they're coming for.
Black and brown people with guns.
They're coming for a few poor black people in certain cities in Illinois and in New York City. Everyone else, you're just fine.
You're fine.
They're not coming for your guns.
Yeah, but if they did, you would give them up. And if you didn't,
I would give them up.
If you didn't, then you would die.
Yeah.
You would die in 10 minutes.
For your gun?
For your Daniel Defense bargain bin AR with like Japanese holosun sight and like a Punisher forward grip. You're gonna ruin your beautiful wife's Amazon crown molding because they're gonna throw a flashbang at your kid.
Yeah, they're gonna set a smoke grenade on fire.
Right? Have you ever read about how the ATF responds to guys like you? They kill the dogs and they blow the families to bits.
It's funny because those same guys like absolutely on their knees for Navy SEAL style guys. And it's like, guess what they do when they come home stateside? They're not all starting coffee shops.
No,
most of them are working at the ATF, and guess what? They've done little trainings in little fake Israeli villages to take down exactly you.
Yes.
To take down guys just this. You know how you dream of fighting the ATF? There's 8 Navy SEALs working at the ATF that dream of fighting you, man. It goes both ways.
They want to bring the war home. One of the things when you go to the armed forces is all enemies foreign and domestic.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like one of the things, like, I think people are naive. They're like, oh, they would never like turn on American. It was like I had friends that were in the Marines that like when I was in college and high school that would like, dude, they would be like, oh yeah, if some shit ever popped off here, like I would love to fuck. It's like, all empathy's beaten out of their head.
Yeah.
Beaten out of their head, dude.
I remember like 15 years ago, Nazis were doing a thing at the state capitol.
Mm-hmm.
So bunch of, communist and anarchist groups
Mm-hmm.
going to do a counter protest against them. And then also a bunch of like normal liberal people too.
Yeah, of course.
And so we're at like like Nazis on one side, police guarding them, and then counter protesters outside the line of the police.
Uh-huh.
And there's a bunch of liberals screaming, if these guys pointing at the police weren't on duty, they'd be protesting you too. And I remember these two cops looking at each other and trying not to laugh. And even me being like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe there are. There might be one. I guarantee at that place there's one guy that was like, I don't like these Nazis, but it's my job. The rest of them are like, no, it's my uncle. I love that guy. No. I actually sell coke to that guy. He has a prison connect.
Or like he's my neighbor. Our kids play baseball together. Yeah, that's the thing that like I've talked with friends about. Like the one thing that like I miss from church, and by church I mean like a white Baptist community that I think that a lot of people don't understand is they're like, wow, these guys are so tight knit, and the judge is the uncle of the sheriff, and then it's like one thing you get from church, and I mean an old church that people go to every Sunday and Wednesday, is the kind of community that buys power.
Yeah.
And I don't think people who think like you and me in general fundamentally understand that, because we don't have anything like that. We don't have like, people do reading groups, but there's nothing there. Like, how many fucking Capital reading groups do you have before you realize that this is pointless? This is stupid. Like, I had this like weird epiphany where I was like, one of the things that makes church so powerful, aside from the spiritual element, is like, yeah, at my church, my cousin twice removed was the pastor. One of the deacons was the sheriff. The other deacon was the judge, or one of the judges in the county. And then like two of the associate pastors in their spare time were like, what is it? It's like, you're not a cop, but constable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and half of that little part, like that little suburb of South Houston that we were in, was just like 40% of it was my church. And if one of the boys got in trouble drinking and driving, they went home, like, whatever. And they all looked after each other. Yeah. And they all like looked after each other in a way where like the levers of power, at least in a local sense, were firmly in their hand. All that good old boy shit that you see in the TVs and movies is 100% real. It's 100% real.
I grew up going to a church.
Yeah.
We lived in like Hawthorne, Lawndale, Torrance, like kind of the poor area of the South Bay. Mm-hmm. We drove to Hermosa Beach. My brother now pastors that church.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like those types of connections where it's my dad, the most working class fella you can have, where it's like his friends are engineers because he's going out to Hermosa Beach for church. It's like, that was the smartest thing my family ever did.
Yeah,
the smartest thing my family ever did was take his country ass from McGee, Arkansas and Wynot, Mississippi, and say, hey, let's go to the church in like the richest area we can access.
Yeah,
and all of their friends' kids, great lives.
Yeah, yeah.
Great lives.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you realize like all of the you can't dismantle this in a meaningful way. Like there's no tearing this apart. Like there's no like, how do you hold this type of power to account? It's like, you don't. At least not with the current. Like, or you're going to tell the guy who makes like $40,000 a year on the side as an associate preacher for this mega church or this mid-level church, who's also a judge, hey, you can't be a preacher and a judge. Well, you can tell him that? He's going to tell you, he's going to call you a gay slur.
Well, he's going to call you, send you to jail or send you to hell.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you, people are like, oh, it's blah. I'm like, this is America, dude. Like, this is just fucking, like, part of me is almost like, I had like a thing where I was like, what if I went back to like a nice church just to have like, just to be a part of some sort of.
You're always welcome, Jake.
Ah, well. I don't think that hard about it. You know what I mean? I don't think
it's all old people. Young people only go to the skinny jean fundamentalist churches. Young people only go to like the strip mall ass TED Talk ass churches that are like, we're non-denominational. The most fucking offensive thing non-denominational, you just do it the right way.
Yeah.
Oh, non-denominational, you just have it correct. You don't add all this extra stuff like I do.
Right.
Fuck you. Non-denominational. Fuck you.
There's like two types of young churches. There's those, and then there's like the really far right. The NIFB, National Independent Baptist Fundamentalists.
You ever seen Steven Anderson?
Of course, yeah.
I've been a fan of Steven Anderson since like 2012.
Yeah, me
He had
too.
a video go viral where he called men those that pisseth on the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Nuh-uh.
And he said in Germany, they tell men to sit down to pee because Europeans are trying to take manliness away from men.
Yeah.
His church has multiple plants now. He has one in Washington, and it's like, That's so crazy. He used to be this fringe, insane person where I'm now like, dude, he has hundreds, if not thousands, of parishioners under him.
His church has grown like fivefold.
During COVID, he made a bunch of anti-Semitic documentaries.
Yeah.
Not like anti-Semitic, like how you just call things that are mean about Jews anti-Semitic, but like straight up like, oh, you hate Jews.
Protocols, the Elders of Zion shit. Yeah.
He mentions the protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Yeah.
And he blew up. 2020, Steven Anderson, the Lord looked down on him and said, you know what? I'm giving you a flock.
Yeah, I remember the one that went viral that I see, like, people that I work out with, like young Zoomers that I work out with, the ones that he shares, it's like, where he's like, people ask me, Steven, what if your son's gay? I don't have no problem with him being gay. I have no problem. You want to be happy? One thing I don't fucking stand for is him being a filthy fat, and it cuts off. And
cuts
it's like,
out every single time, right? He's about to say it.
I remember, I got curious. I watched the whole sermon, and all those fundamentalist Baptist churches are like huge. And they do this thing called soul winning, where like they go to people and they're like, hey, like this is pretty simple stuff. Like if you don't follow me, like you're going to die and you're going to go to hell. Like it's pretty clear in the Gospels. And it weirdly enough is that the communities that they do it in, like it's very successful. It works. And obviously the churches are like, disproportionately white. The churches are disproportionately like deeply conservative. They're all deeply conservative. And like if there's any Latino, it's the kind of Latinos that are like, you know what I mean? Like you're looking around like, And I remember I've watched some of the sermons and it's like, yeah, it's all like, super hateful bullshit. But I'm like, how the fuck?
He also used to go through Border Patrol checkpoints and refuse ID and stuff like that.
Oh, he was a sovereign citizen guy, wasn't he?
He was adjacent to sovereign citizen.
Yeah.
Adjacent to sovereign citizen. I love sovereign citizens. Oh my God. I'm
Beautiful.
obsessed with them.
Beautiful.
I've been so into them for so long. None of them have agreed to do an interview with me. They're all so weird.
I've always wanted to interview one of them, not even for the show, but just for my own, like, because I want to ask them, like, do you understand the difference between implied and real power?
Yeah.
Like, do you even know what that is? Because like they'll reference like obscure but real, like old 100%. English law.
That's the best part of it, is the nuggets of truth.
And we're live. We're back.
They also sovereign citizens treat things like it's like some sort of chancellery court in Delaware.
Yeah.
Where you base things off of 1700s, 800 laws.
Weird codified. Yeah.
And 100% our courts were built like that. And a lot of people that don't understand law don't get that. Where it's like, oh no, we inherited a court from England, from London,
right.
from the city of London,
right.
and it is a weird, complex thing.
Right.
And a lot of times they reference real treaties.
Yes.
But the problem is that's not the common interpretation, so it will never hold up in court. And then they talk about these guys that were able to beat court cases, and then you look up the court cases, and every single time it's a judge in a small town that just throws it out because he says, fuck it, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
And so they parade as in, like, this guy knows how to beat the government and get access to your secret account. And it's like, oh, the little nugget of truth that people deny you gets you so far into your insane rabbit hole that you're just trying to convince me that every single person on earth interprets the law wrong, except this tiny fringe group that learned about these treaties from a Mormon tax protesting group in the fucking 1940s.
They're all like amateur lawyers, and one of the things that I think is so frustrating about these types is they're almost always some flavor of libertarian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to grab them by the shoulders, and I'm like, you're so close, because it's like, yeah, the video where you don't show your ID and then the cop pulls you out of the car and roughs you up, like, and then you go, see, this is like blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that guy right there, you're technically right. That guy is wrong, but he has the ability to do that because of the way that society views him.
Yeah.
That society as a whole, people are obviously critical of the police. American society as a whole loves the boot.
Yeah.
You did something wrong to deserve. Why didn't you just show your ID? Why didn't you just show your paperwork? And that, as I'm like, I understand how a lot of guys end up libertarians, because that mindset, I'm like, oh, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm over on this side of the political aisle, and I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. A guy can break your jaw because you didn't show him the right paperwork.
Couldn't agree more. What a disgusting world we've built.
That's disgusting world.
What a disgusting world we've built.
But you're fucking with him.
But those are still the laws of society.
Yeah, even if they're not real. Even if they're just based on that guy having a bad day.
It's 100%. It's just how reality is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, even cops say, like, oh, you can beat the charge, you can't beat the process or whatever it's called. What's the little phrase they say?
I know what you're talking about.
Like, you can beat it, but you can't beat what's going to happen.
Oh, like, yeah. Like, yes. Like, if I decide to beat the shit out of you, like, I'm probably going to get off. There was I remember, do you know that, like, I hate him. I think he's a piece of shit. But Mark Laeta, the soft white underbelly guy.
Yes, he's a demon.
I hate that motherfucker. But I remember.
Did you get caught up at first too? The first few videos I saw from him, I was like, oh, this guy's good.
Yeah.
And then within like video 3 or video 4 that I saw, whenever that was, like 2015, 16, whatever, it's like, oh, you're like a demon. You're like a succubus trying to suck the life out of these people and profit off of them.
This is
like,
torture porn for Christian evangelicals.
It is.
What it is.
Yeah.
But I remember he was talking to some like former, sheriff of some small southern town. It was talking about, like, he was saying that he was just like, you pull people over that know their law. It's like, okay, well, it's like, implicitly saying, like, whatever happens between us, like, I'm going to get away with that.
Yeah.
And it's my word against yours. And I understand that, like, I'm a police officer. I know that that's not how the law works. But I know that it's how the law works.
I love the auditing guys. The guys that go to post offices and just, like, videotape until the police technically break the law.
Yeah, yeah.
And they say, oh, I'm stress testing the First Amendment. I go, I love you. I know you're, like, some sort of weird flavor of libertarian that, like, wouldn't break bread with me politically. But I'm like, I love that passion. I love the autism of it, where it's like, these are the rules. And it's like, some of those guys make a full-time job off of their 30 to 60K settlements that takes 3 to 7 years for them to win.
I've told you before several times, like, I completely understand why almost all of the parapolitics guys that we're pretty much both into, like, if you dedicate your life to either being like a sovereign citizen or like obscure American and English law, you're going to become one of two things, in my experience, anecdotally. You're either going to become like a dyed-in-the-cloth card-carrying Marxist of some flavor, or you're going to become a libertarian. I don't know anybody that's into the CIA like, oh my God, this coup d'etat, or like, wow, this guy works for Blackwater and now his wife is the Secretary of Education, whatever the fuck, like, that's just like a Obama-era Democrat or like a Bush-era Republican. It's either guys that are like, leave me the fuck alone libertarians, not like guys like Gold Standard, but guys that are like, I need to get out of this place. Like off the grid woods libertarians who have a computer that they like do their research on and write on their Substack, but then other than that, they're completely gone. Or they're like Marxist pillheads. This is the only guys I know that cover this type of stuff. Or the guys who get into the like, hey, why the fuck do I need to carry identification? And if I don't show it to you, you can break my arm?
Yeah.
Nobody that ever actually, in my experience, that like takes those things to its natural conclusion is like any political normal belief like in America.
You can't be.
You can't.
You can't be.
You can't be like a Clinton-era Democrat and be like, so we didn't trade, we didn't want to pay for bananas, so we killed, we exiled our like Jacobo, like we overthrew Guatemala because we wanted to have cheaper bananas for our Dairy Queen sundaes?
Yeah. The same with political organizing, where it's like, if you do a bunch of politicking, you're either going to, stop politicking sooner or later.
Yeah.
Die or go to prison.
Yeah.
Or become super religious.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a friend of mine who went the whole, like, I'm nihilistic. I don't believe in anything anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, the reason I went, Christian is because believing in a God that's going to punish my enemies one day gives me so much more peace than knowing I'll never have state power.
Yeah.
Where it's like, in my mind, it's so much easier to know that, dude, God's going to punish every single one of those colonized colonists.
It is taking the opiate of them. It's
literally what it is.
It is.
Like, it is literally that.
I think people read that passage wrong and they're like talking about how it means we should outlaw religion, and like the rest of the passage Marx talks about like all the things that religion, so the thing we were talking about earlier, like community, like you can have that without, you can get your just desserts without, and the meek shall inherit the earth. Like, no, you can inherit it now.
Yeah.
Like people talk about like the Soviet Union was atheist or whatever, and so was China, blah, 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 blah. But like Marx himself was not, he was raised, him and Engels, I think were both raised, Engels was raised, I think Anglican, and he was raised like, I want to say it's some religious, they weren't anti-religious. That whole passage is about like, oh, you have a proletariat that is willing to die for something, but you instead say, no, the riches that you will inherit in heaven. Just put it off a little bit longer. You're putting that righteous anger on layaway. Mm-hmm. You're putting that revolutionary fervor on layaway, and you say, no, you'll get it later.
I'm Klarnaing my revolutionary
potential. I'm Klarnaing my real world political revolution that I will eventually have a spiritual liberation or whatever the fuck. And it drives me crazy because I'm just like, my mom will say stuff like, well, all those corrupt politicians, like, they're going to go to hell.
God says, bring the kingdom of heaven to earth, and I will work at his mighty right hand. I will act as the sword of the Lord against the enemies of his mighty children.
I will bring it here. I will bring hell here. Yeah. Anyway, we probably got to head out. I think we're going to a comedy club. So thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. God bless you.
Till next time. Bye-bye.